This show is not intended for the politically correct or the closed-minded. Enter at the risk of opening your eyes. You have been warned.
Why does the media attack an issue? To get primetime ratings?
In my line of work, you got to keep repeating things over and over and over again for the truth to sink in.
The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
A moment comes when we step out from the old to the new, and when the soul of a nation, long suppressed, finds utterance.
To kind of catapult the propaganda.
You are listening to Open Eyes with your host, Ira Robinson. From the normal to the paranormal, from government cover-ups to the depths of our consciousness, we aim to explore all things. From the dawn of prehistory to current events, no topic is forbidden and nothing remains hidden.
No more secrets.
Open your eyes and open your mind to the fact that life as we know it is not as we have been taught. Join us at latenightinthe-midlands.com or openeyesnetwork.com as we take this brief journey through the depths of the cosmos and explore what it really means to be human.
Many peoples have sacrificed their liberties, only to learn to their sorrow that deceit and mockery, poverty and tyranny are their reward.
Whether you're online or offline, intercontinental or intergalactic, hello and welcome to Open Eyes. It is Wednesday. It is June 15th, 2016, and I hope that you are ready for a really big show. We are live tonight. We are live and in person and in your ears and all that kind of good stuff. And if you want to call in tonight, you can do so. The call-in number tonight is 260-494-3937. Our Skype line, as always, is JDA Film, and you can also reach us in the chat room at lnmradionetwork.com or openeyesnetwork.com. That's our personal website, and the LNM Radio Network is the main affiliation that we have. But we are live, and if you guys want to join the chat room over there, go for it. The easy way to get to it is click on the big blinking buttons at the top of the page. You guys can't miss it. It says chat and listen or listen live. You guys can't miss it. I'm blind, and I can see the darn thing. So come on in and join the community, and hopefully you guys are in for a really good show tonight. We're going to talk about a lot of different things. We have some news that we're going to cover at the beginning of the show, of course, like we always do. But we also are going to, later in the show, talk about government admissions of UFOs. UFOs are real, according to government officials, different official documents. We're going to give you the evidence for that. So pretty interesting topic, I think. Tonight I'm joined by Jolene Robinson. Hello, Jolene. And I forgot to turn your microphone on. Say it again.
Oh, hello.
There you go. Everybody on YouTube saw you wave, but that was it. You guys can join us as well over on YouTube. It's youtube.com/C/Open Eyes Network. And see us as we do our work and, me fail. Pretty interesting. I'll tell you what, man, I have been having one weird week. There's been a lot of stuff that's been going on that we've been talking about. And I've been seeing my YouTube channel kind of blow up and pretty interesting to see that going on. I'm excited about it because, well, it's something that I've been wanting to give a shot for a long time. And over the past, about a month and a half now, I've been basically working on it. Really enjoying it, but I will say that the comment section of YouTube is sort of like the cesspit of Satan's sperm. I can't tell you how much crazy I have run across in the comments of people just being the worst trolls, insulters. It's the pit of Gehenna. I'm telling you, it is just nasty, nasty, nasty. And people wonder why I go through and kind of moderate the comments a little bit. I've been accused of deleting the comments that are contrary to my opinions, and I'll just state out flatly right here, right now. No, I don't. I delete the spam and the blatantly racist kind of crap because nobody needs to see that kind of stuff, But no, I had one person comment to me. I just got to add this in here real quick. I had one person comment to me that I delete comments that are contrary to my opinion, you know, and they were like, you know, screw this or screw this, you're a moron, that kind of thing, you know. And I'm like, well, so are you, you know. And so I just kind of left it at that. And then he came back and said, you know, will you delete comments that are contrary to your opinion? And I very logically said, okay, if I deleted the comments that are contrary to my opinion, then how are you replying to a contrary opinion comment with that statement? It just doesn't make any logical sense in any way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. I don't know. People are twisted. People are weird. It's like YouTube just attracts the dregs of society for the most part. And I think a lot of it is just like trolling teenagers looking for a fun time, you know, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, for those of you out there that like to listen to our shows, listen to our content, if you've been enjoying the videos that we bring you with all that stuff, you know, please give some good comments to contradict some of this crap that's out there. You know, hit the video with a like or something and, you know, just contradict some of the cesspit that we've been encountering with this. Because I'll tell you what, we've been hit with nothing but insults and you know, calling us everything but white kids. I mean, seriously, that's what it comes down to. It's just been nasty, you know. So join us over there, you know, do a little bit of contradiction to these people and support us, you know. That's what I'm going to say on that, and that'll be it. So I got an email today. I just had to bring this up because, you know, as a person who has held many sales jobs over the years, this guy has the worst sales pitch I have ever encountered in my life. So let me read verbatim what the sales pitch here is, okay? So he said in the email, the email says exactly this. My cat died today. Sorry to tell you that. It's just been a hard day for me, and I needed to tell someone. Have you ever lost someone close to you? Anyway, I'm here to remind you that you may be eligible to apply to receive grant money for school. The amount is blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, that's
really
a way to get someone to, yeah.
What the hell kind of dumb sales pitch is that? I mean, if you're getting business off of that, I would hate to know the people that have been responding to it. Holy crap. Worst sales pitch ever. Okay, so anyways, just had to throw a little bit of humor in towards the beginning of things. I wanted to let my listeners know as well. I was kind of building up for a guest that I had coming on Friday, and I wanted to give some info out regarding this because, well, I don't want anybody else getting caught up in this. Okay, that's really what it comes down to. So let me explain the situation. There was a guy who got into contact with me named Dan Lane. Dan said that he had evidence. He had a caller that called into his podcast that night, basically, and said that there were he got a call from a truck driver, basically, telling him that there were signs in the back of his and two other trucks that were written, or that had written on them, martial law has been enacted in this area. So I thought, well, you know, let's talk about this for a little while. I talked to the guy for a couple of hours. He seemed pretty legit. You know, he kind of went with the standard fare of things. But in the conversation I was having with him, there were a couple of things that I guess you could say tweaked my attention a little bit. I can smell a lie like a fart in a car. Let's just put it to you that way. So I was very suspicious of some of the things that were going on. Up to and including as we were having the conversation, he kept going back to the fact that this caller had called in on his show, and he stated it as if he was stating it from the beginning of things and did not remember that he had said it to me to begin with. So kind of like losing track of the fact that he had told me that this guy called in, right? This was in the process of a conversation that lasted about 2 hours, like I said. Now, after my broadcast of Show Us, Don't Tell Us the other night, I was hosting the show for them because they were having some problems. Those of you that listen to that show, you're aware of the problems that are going on with that. So anyways, I was producing the show for them, and they were, I was acting as host for that show for them that night. during the show, one of our moderators in the chat room, Surfernaut, he's awesome, amazing guy. I have to give a shout out to Surfer. He's just one of the best people out there. He brought to my attention a video that he had run across, and he just kind of tossed it to me and said, "Hey, take a look at this. I think there might be something to this." Now, after the show was over, he and I got into contact with each other, and I took the audio that this Dan Lane had on his Spreaker channel that he had just put up a couple of hours before, and I took the video that Surf had sent me, and I compared them side by side. So in the video, or in the audio that this Dan Lane was doing, he said this caller called into my show last night, or tonight, according to him, the posting, the caller called into his show, basically spewed out all of this information, and so he's going to play it. So he played the audio of the show, quote unquote, and as the show is going, the conversation goes just like I said. The guy claims that he was a truck driver, he had a friend that was a truck driver, and that the friend told him that there were signs in the back of his truck that said martial law has been enacted in this area, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so then halfway through the audio, basically, it cuts off. You hear the emergency broadcast system sound kick in, and then the song Two On by Tinashe kicks in on the stream and plays for a little while. Then the audio, the music stops, and you hear him come back on saying, "Wow, I don't know what happened. My computer locked up. Everything froze up. It just was really crazy. I don't know what all occurred here." All right. So the video that Surf had sent me was of an audio that this other broadcaster had recorded from a caller that called into his show. And it was the exact same audio. I mean, it was duplicate. It was 100% the same audio. So, and like I said, I compared them side by side. I was listening to them side by side at the same time, the exact same audio. It was a cloned copy of it. This video, however, was posted September 24th, 2013. So this Dan Lane person, for those of you that are out there that are my fellow broadcasters and fellow hosts, if this guy gets into contact with you, he's disinfo, flat out disinfo. He's one of two things. He is either somebody that is trying to ride the fame train to get onto a network somewhere, and become a host on the network. And, he's trying to hook up with big networks and big people to get, ride the coattails, basically. So it's either something along those lines, which is bad enough in itself. Okay. Trying to claim, look, I've got this explosive information. You want to accept me as a host because look at the kind of calls that I get. Wow, this is really cool, Mm-hmm. So he's either that, or he is a flat out psyop disinfo kind of agent who is trying to infiltrate networks and cause problems. It's one of the two things. And in either case, we're not having that crap here on our network. So what I'm getting to with all of this is that my show on Friday is going to change. He's not going to be coming on the show. And a couple of people told me, well, you should have him on the show and just jump him, and kind of ambush him and confront him with this. The guy is really vulgar. You can, if you listen to any of his videos or because he's on YouTube, and if you listen to any of his videos or his Spreaker files, you guys will hear he's full of vulgarity, F-bombing everywhere. I don't want that on the show. Because I know that's how it's going to end up. He's just going to, F you all the way across. We don't need that, So, no, I'm not going to bother. I'm not even going to bother to give him airtime other than just stating here, like I'm saying right now, to be careful of this guy. Be aware if he gets in contact with you, that's the story. Now you guys know. All right?
Mm-hmm.
So, any comments from you?
Nope, not really. Aside from the fact that the info that he was trying to say, I looked up and it was reported the same situation like a few years ago. What he was trying to. Right. And so, I mean, if something was to come of that, it probably would have happened by now because, like I said, that video that I found, that Chris found that I was listening to was from September 24th, 2013.
and it had like 1.4 million views on it. So, again, it's obvious that he was just trying to make a grab somewhere along the lines. It's one of those two situations. I don't know exactly which, but anyways, just giving the warning out to those of you out there that are also broadcasters or trying to, do shows yourself. Don't even bother with this guy. It's just not going to be worth your time. So,
and then I assume you still have the audio of the two files. So if they want to contact you.
If you want to contact me and have the evidence given, I'm more than happy to provide it for you. Yep. More than happy to provide it for you. So, okay. So let's move on now. Okay. There's been a lot of stuff that's been going on with the whole Orlando thing. I've got some stuff that I want to talk about with that, but I'm going to hold that off until after the first break because we've only got a few moments yet before we hit the break, and I want to make sure that we give it plenty of time. But I will say as well that on tomorrow's Brothers at Arms show, we're going to cover a lot of stuff as far as the Orlando situation is concerned. Please make sure you guys tune in then because there's going to be more info that we talk about in that show that we're not going to get to tonight. It's going to be a different direction that we're taking with it. But in either case, through these two shows, you guys are going to get more than enough evidence to say questionable, to say the least. Okay. So make sure you guys stay tuned until after the break. We'll get to that one. But they're in a big change of direction, basically. There's a new spray that's coming out on the market, and I wanted to bring this up just because I want to get your thoughts with this, Jolene, just to see what goes through your head with this. So there's a new spray being sold with the intention of replacing showers forever.
Okay.
All right. So replacing showers forever. So I wanted to bring that up there on the newscast.
Gotcha.
So the product is called Mother Dirt, and it's produced by the self-called microbiome company AOBiome, who researches and produces products that use live strains of specialized bacteria to help balance and support the human body's natural bacterial biome. So they say by maintaining a healthy bacterial biome on your body, the company says that you can give yourself healthier skin that helps protect your body from harmful microbes. So the shower replacing Mother Dirt spray is their flagship product, and it's being rebranded to appeal to a wider and more mainstream market. So according to the company's website, the spray is intended to return the human body back to its natural state, which can be disrupted by showering and cosmetic products. They say in a quote, "We're developing a new class of transformational products based on the use of beneficial ammonia oxidizing bacteria. AOBs are naturally occurring bacteria that metabolize the ammonia found in sweat, creating both nitrite and nitric oxide, two critical building blocks of good health. AOBiome is capitalizing on activity to restore part of the skin microbiome disrupted by modern hygiene practices." So one of the people that had taken part in the beta testing for this, I guess you could say, said that it did not really work for them. They kind of got to the point where they kept their arms down all the time because they were afraid that other people would be able to smell them. But the company basically is trying to make the claim that that's okay. That's the body's natural state of being. And so we should all just get used to that instead of getting used to the deodorizing products.
Well, yeah. I mean, your body has its own natural odor, but that's like the main reason why you apply perfume, deodorant, that sort of thing, is for the perfume to cover the scent.
Hides the dirt. Right, exactly. You know, it's like I always make a joke whenever I take a shower. I'm like, boy, I feel less human now. You know how some people say it when they get out of the shower, boy, I feel more human now. No, you should say you feel less human, because the actual state of the human being should be the dirty, smelly, you know. Yeah. Anyways, that's maybe not a socially acceptable, but that's still the natural state of the human body, you know. Just one of those weird thought processes, I guess. But anyway, so go on with your thoughts there.
The idea behind it, though, I could see I could see it working as far as doing better for you if they have it right and if everyone's body is the same way. Because I'm sure there's some where the bacterial, the correct ratio is not the same.
Well, that's part of the point, too, is that exactly what you're saying. Everybody's sweat is different. It's composed of different chemicals. It's composed of different pheromones. And therefore, different types of bacteria actually grow like underneath your arms or, in your crotch, in your pits, all the places where the smelly bits seem to be.
Your feet.
Your feet, right. So all of these different bacteria, they're there as a colony responding to the specific types of elements that you're outgassing basically from yourself in your sweat. So, the molecular content of your sweat is going to be different varying upon the person to person. That's why everybody's sweat smells different, is because there's different bacteria that are pooping and outgassing that odor. I mean, that's what the odor is. It's the odor of the bacteria that are there pooping. Mm-hmm. And I know it's a really crazy and creepy thought, but that's what it is. I mean, that's why you get the smell.
Yeah.
And the more sweat you have and the more you're feeding those bacteria, the more of the colonies grow and the more outgassing those colonies do as they poop and the more smell you have.
Well, not only that, but your diet has a lot to do with it.
It has a large amount to do with it, yeah. Yeah, because it all contributes to what's going to be contained within that sweat, because the different one of the body's natural processes is as you take in foods and drinks and there's different heavy metals, toxic materials, all that kind of stuff in it, what's not excreted out of your urinary tract or your poop chute comes out of your sweat. So, or saliva, that kind of thing, but it's mostly through the sweat of your body, because that's our biggest organ. The skin is our biggest organ.
Well, yeah, I mean, you just think about it. If you're sick, usually you tend to get a fever, which makes you sweat, so your body's trying to pass it that way first. As an example, to
that's
kind
it
of go
exactly
on with what you're saying.
Yep,
so
that's it exactly. You got it. So I thought the article was really interesting, and I thought I'd bring it up.
It is interesting. Like I said, I could see it possibly working, but it's not. Like I said, and everyone's body's a little different. I mean, it's like, with the deodorants that are out now, not every deodorant works for every single person.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know. When I was a kid, as I was getting into my early teenage years, you know how it is when you're a teenager, you start getting the sweat smells and that kind of thing, as opposed to when you're a younger kid and you don't really go through that very much. It's there, but it's not much, they tend to grow in the hair, so that's where they hang out, anyways. So, I know when I was younger, I had to go through a process of getting like 20 different deodorants, before I found one that would actually work. 'Cause I'd put it on and I'd still smell myself like 20 minutes later, it's like, okay, now I'm starting to smell again. It just didn't work. You could smell, yes, the smell of the deodorant's scent, but the sweat smell was right underneath it, so it's like, holy crap, what do I do here, And then as you grow older too, your body goes through a process of change and you have to choose and find one that works for you there too. So I guess the best thing to do is just do like antibacterial things underneath there. If you're going to do something, that's part of the point of the antiperspirants. They contain the aluminum that clogs the pores to keep you from sweating as much, which then prevents the bacteria from growing as much. But the aluminum content as well helps to destroy the bacteria that's there. So that's one of the reasons why it works the way that it does. But it's also very bad for you too. So
let's just clog pores. Yeah,
right. It's also just not the best idea to do. So there's other methods that you could do. I mean, it's strangely enough, like something like even apple cider vinegar or something like that works pretty well to help, contain down the amount of bacteria and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of different natural solutions that you can do. I know some people, they swear by the little salt bars that you can do, and it's like composed of just one big bar of salt basically that you rub underneath the arms, and that helps to kill the bacteria because it changes the pH level that's there, so they can't thrive as well.
That sounds interesting. I've never heard of such a thing.
Yeah, that's one of the I guess newer ones. I think it's been out for a while, but it's kind of getting bigger now.
Mm-hmm.
It seems interesting. I've never tried that one myself, but if you guys have had experiences with that, let us know. Maybe that's something we can look into here for our family. We try to do a lot of things more naturally. I mean, like our toothpaste, we make our own toothpaste at this point because other toothpaste, like the store-bought toothpaste, even the ones like Tom's, which is what we were using for a long time and is considered to be organic, doesn't have the fluoride and that kind of stuff. Even that I started having issues with because of one of the ingredients in it, the sodium lauryl sulfate, was actually causing my mouth to get like constant sores. It broke down the lining, the mucous membrane there in the cheeks. And a lot of people go through that. So maybe if you're having problems with your mouth, and it breaking open or stuff like that, and there's no explanation for it, check your toothpaste, see if that ingredient's in there. That's one that not a lot of people know about. So we try to do things like, on the more natural scale of things whenever we can.
Mm-hmm.
And that includes, deodorants and that kind of stuff too. So yeah, if you guys have experience with the salt things, let us know. That'd be interesting. We kind of went in a weird direction with all of that.
Oh, yes.
But when don't we go in weird directions, right?
So to continue on with the main topic that we were saying there.
Sure.
The whole spray
and pray.
Yeah. It's like we're trying to get there. We're trying to get to the sonic showers.
From Star Trek, yes. I could totally go with those, yeah.
Because the whole premise of that was to not need a shower, right? Isn't that what you said?
Yeah, basically the premise behind the sonic showers for the
No. I mean the thing you were saying.
Oh, okay, yeah, is to not have to do a shower. This bacterial spray basically is going to go all over your skin, all over your body to maintain the levels there.
Okay, now you can explain a sonic shower.
So the sonic shower, for those that aren't aware, is basically, it was kind of like an ultrasound version of a shower. It would shoot like ultrasonic waves in the direction of the body, all over the body at once, to basically cause dirt and all that kind of stuff on the surface of the skin to break away and just, slough off of you, basically. So pretty interesting. I don't know. Could be cool. Could be cool. I'm looking forward to the food replicators.
Yeah, I agree with that one.
So one other story, but then we'll hit the break. Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook, came out a couple of days ago and said that he is not a lizard. So for those of you wondering if he's a reptilian, he claims that he's not. I bring this up because we get hit a lot with the reptilian topic sometimes, and so Mark Zuckerberg apparently is laying claim that he's not.
Although those who usually say they're not are.
So this happened during a question and answer session that he had going on. And one of the questioners there said, "Mark, are the allegations true that you're secretly a lizard?" He said, "I'm gonna have to go with no on that. I'm not a lizard. But keep the high quality comments coming in, please. This is surely on track to be a great live Q&A if we continue getting stuff at that level of quality."
Wow.
So, by the way, in 2013, there was a poll that was done, and it found that as many as 4% of registered voters in the United States subscribe to the idea that lizard people control our societies by gaining political power. So, pretty interesting.
That is pretty interesting.
Pretty interesting indeed. So, I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and hit a break here. And when we come back, we're going to get into a little bit of the Orlando topic. I think maybe we have a reason why the Orlando happened in the way that it did at the timing that it did. And we'll get into that when we come back. You guys stick around. If you want to call in tonight, you can do so. The number tonight is 260-494-3937, Skype line JDA Film, or as always, join us in the chat room over at lnmradionetwork.com, and we'll be right back. Open Eyes Network now airs a live simulcast on YouTube. Our YouTube channel, youtube.com/C/Open Eyes Network, features not just our live content, but other videos as well, and is always active. So now you can tune in many different ways. Open Eyes Network shows air Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time live. Be sure to visit OpenEyesNetwork.com to find easy-to-use links to get to all of the places that you want to listen to our shows. And don't forget, all of our shows will now be archived as well on YouTube.
There is a better radio show, beyond that which is known to the people. It is a radio show more informative than others, and as timeless as infinity. It is the equilibrium between light and dark, between the sheeple and the paranormal, and it is heard at the base of man's ignorance and at the summit of his knowledge. This is the radio show of imagination, a show we call The Secret Teachings.
Open Eyes is dedicated to finding the truth in all matters. We are not afraid to be politically incorrect or to ask questions. Whether it is the paranormal, government cover-ups, the dark agenda that the puppet masters have in store for us, or aliens and UFOs, nothing remains hidden. Listen to Open Eyes, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on LateNightInTheMidlands.com or OpenEyesNetwork.com. Open hearts, open minds, open eyes. Ben Franklin said, "If you do the same thing tomorrow as you did today, you're going to get the same tomorrow as you got today." Changing the world starts with you, and changing you starts with changing the way you think. Late Night in the Midlands can help. Listen to all of our shows at LateNightInTheMidlands.com, because things really do need to change.
Great fear and trembling shall seize them, even to the ends of the earth. The earth shall be hurt, and all things which are in it perish, while judgment shall come upon all, even upon all the righteous. Behold, he comes with 10,000s of his saints to execute judgment upon them and destroy the wicked. Yet as God has appointed, so are all things brought to pass. No peace shall be to you.
How is it possible that anybody with any kind of sanity would consider the United States or Britain or the West in general to be in any kind of position to be punishing anyone for any illegalities? We have tortured and killed and maimed and raped around this planet. Who in the hell in their right mind would consider the United States or the West in general to be in any position to punish anybody? Well, we don't operate under international law. What we have is the color of law, the law of the jungle, in which the rich and the powerful basically determine what goes and what doesn't go. First off, all of these players, these politicians, are nothing more than puppets. They don't serve the people. There is no real democracy. They really serve the rich and powerful who run the world, and that would be the bankers who control the money supply. The bankers, of course, make huge amounts of money. is because more and more people, despite the clueless masses who continue to be entranced by things so ridiculous as X Factor and American Idol, there is larger numbers of people around the world who are realizing the truth and beginning to recapture the capacity to think for themselves. And they can see that these people who are being put in positions of public trust are defying that trust and representing an agenda which they could never speak about openly because they're nothing more than prostitutes and nothing more than minions for the powers that be. These people are psychopaths to the worst order. We know that the United States president is arming people who are on the U.S. terrorist list. He should be convicted of aiding and abetting, giving material support to a terrorist organization. This is nothing more than a group of terrorists working together, each playing one different role, but all of them working together for the same goal, which is to maintain this hideous and sick and twisted, unjust world that we have, which is a perpetual state of war. Always one illusion, one boogeyman after another. The United States is in a perpetual state of war because the bankers control the politicians and they read the script as given to them by the banksters and they make huge amounts of money off of this. Those that are in government are nothing more than prostitutes who are carrying out the orders of those who are in charge of them, and those that are in charge want another war. The duplicity and hypocrisy of the United States and the West can't even be measured. It is so enormous. This is beyond ridiculous, and the only people that buy this are bought-off prostitutes or the dumbest of the dumb. More than anything else, it is the true American patriots, those who are sick and tired of having given up their life to basically serve the American dream, the American nation, the Constitution that they swore to uphold. It's those military men and women. It's you now. It's coming to you now. Are you a patriot or are you not? Are you going to let your nation descend even further into the chaos and corruption that has been so sick and so twisted that it's destroying American lives as well as the rest of the world, to the tune of 22 American servicemen a day who are committing suicide? Are you going to sacrifice more of your American sons and daughters for Israeli wars, for Zionist wars? Are you going to continue to do that because you are not a patriot? You are in fact aiding and abetting the terrorists you supposedly think you're fighting against. And those Americans who are waking up to this, I hope to God, in the military in particular, that you refuse your orders. And in those in the military, I know that the powers that be are very, very frightened that high-ups within the military will refuse the orders.
Welcome back to Open Eyes. My name is Ira Robinson. Tonight I'm here with Jolene Robinson. Hello, Jolene.
Hello.
Hopefully you guys are enjoying the show so far. I had to play that audio due to the issues that are going on right now. Very interesting audio. For those that are wondering, that's Ken O'Keefe that's doing the speaking there, and had to use it. It's just an amazing bit of audio. Lots of truth being told in that little 3 minutes there. If you guys want to call in tonight, do so. The number is 260-494-3937. Skype line is JDA Film if you want to use Skype. You can also reach us in the chat room at lnmradionetwork.com or openeyesnetwork.com. While you're over at openeyesnetwork.com, why don't you check out the audio archives that we have for you guys over there. We've got a lot of different archives available for you guys. We have all of our shows. We've got Brothers in Arms, Open Eyes, Duct Tape Nation, the Positude Podcast, Adventures in Autism. We've got a lot of stuff available for you guys, literally hundreds of hours worth of listening and information and stuff that you guys really can use. And don't forget as well our YouTube channel, youtube.com/C/Open Eyes Network. You guys can get all of the videos that I put out over there. I put out a video a day at least, and some very interesting things come from it, to say the least. So make sure you guys are taking part. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you guys can get notifications of when we do new videos. All right, so let's get into the Orlando issue. Now, with the Orlando situation, I'm not going to talk first about the issues with the shooting itself. I want to talk about what may be related or the reason why so much attention is being paid. The issue is that we know that they use situations like this to really blow up the media and make sure that attention is paid there instead of to what might be going on behind the scenes. And what might be going on behind the scenes with all of this is the new enactment of the NDAA. So the new form of the NDAA, or the National Defense Authorization Act, is pretty weird. I have the article from Politico that I'll be giving a quote from here on the screen right now for those of you guys that are curious. But so the NDAA has been passed. Trying to get who did the quote here. I believe it was John McCain. Yes, John McCain is the one that did this quote. He said, "I'm very proud that the Senate passed the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2017 with an overwhelming bipartisan vote of 85-13. The NDAA is the most significant piece of defense reform legislation passed by the Senate in 30 years, containing major reforms to the Department of Defense that can help our military to rise to the challenge of a more dangerous world. The NDAA contains the first major update to Pentagon organization in 30 years and sweeping reforms to the defense acquisition system necessary to harness American innovation and preserve our military's technological edge. The legislation also modernizes the military health system to provide military service members, retirees, and their families with higher quality care, better access to care, and a better experience of care." So this is all a quote from him as he talked on the floor about the bill. He also said, "But for all our successes, I regret that the Senate was unable to debate and vote on several matters critical to our national security, many of which enjoyed broad bipartisan support. In particular, I'm deeply disappointed the Senate was not able to increase the number of special immigrant visas for Afghans who risked their lives to help America in a time of war and whose lives are still at risk today. Too often throughout this process, a single senator was able to bring the Senate's work on our national defense to a halt. This was a breakdown in the decorum of the Senate and one that will have serious consequences." So now, in here, he talks about immigration and how the poor Afghans are not getting visas. So one of the things that's going on with that, for those of you looking for edification of information, is that during the primary Afghan conflict, there were many Afghan translators, so people who spoke Afghani and who, I believe it was actually Farsi, if I remember right. I'm sorry, I don't know the language exactly name that they speak over there. Anyways, Afghan speakers that were on behalf of the United States military there, they were acting as translators. They could speak both English and their language, and so they were acting as translators between. And they still do. But now that the military has pulled back some, these guys have gone into their homes and their families are being threatened. They're being threatened. Their families are being killed because they assisted the United States military by being translators. So what they have been trying to do is to get special visas for them to be allowed basically refugee status here in the United States and come here for protection. I don't disagree with that. I really don't. I don't disagree with that idea at all. That should have been done a long time ago.
And yet we're letting Syrian refugees come in, no
background checks, right, exactly.
And we're pretty much trying to push it.
And spent $670 million in the process on these 10,000 Syrian refugees as well. So, yeah, great point. Very great point. Now, that being said, what this guy did not mention was in this NDAA is the fact that now women have to be susceptible to the draft as well as men. That is now a thing in the United States of America. Women are now subject to the draft. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of what to say to that. It's, well, it was a long time coming, really. We wanted equal status, and finally we're to the point that we're now susceptible of being drafted. Although if there's a family going on, what happens to the kids? That's the biggest question that comes to my mind.
That's one of the issues, yeah. That's one of the issues.
Or if a woman is pregnant at the time of being drafted and it's like too early to tell for sure.
Like Doc in the chat room said, all they have to do is get pregnant to stay out. Yes, that is true, but after their pregnancy is over, they're back to being subjected to the draft.
Just keep having babies over and over.
Keep having babies. There you go.
We'll have a huge baby boom.
If it's time of war and they're enacting the draft, just have babies.
We think the boomer generation was big. Yeah, it'll get bigger.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it'll really boom at that point. Do I think it's a good idea? No, I don't. I don't think that anybody should be subject to the draft, period.
No.
It's not a good idea. We've got a volunteer army for a purpose. There are a lot of military members. The military is a big organization. So do we need the draft? No. I could see them enacting it, though. You know,
oh, yeah.
I definitely could see them making use of it if something happens and they want to really push the conflict.
I'm sure they're getting this ready just in time for something.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Because we already know we're in a war,
right? Exactly, and that I think goes into the whole Orlando thing too, because now people are pushing as far as the Islamic portion of things goes with that. But again, we'll get into that here in a little bit. But you're absolutely right. I mean, there is definitely something coming. They're doing it for a purpose. It's just like with if you go back in time a little bit and you look at equal rights for women, equal rights should have been there from the beginning for women. Okay, absolutely. But one of the reasons why it was pushed is not to give women equality, but because of a financial push behind it. So there was a financial push behind making women have equal rights and going out into the workplace. They saw that there was this whole swath. Half of the population was not bringing in any income and therefore was not taxable. So let's push the agenda to make women have equal status, get them out into the workplace, and lo and behold, now we can make twice as much money because twice the population is involved in working.
And now we're at a point where it's dang well near impossible for a family of 3, mother, father, child, to live off of just one income.
There was a time, even 30 years ago, 35 years ago, where one person could work and be able to afford to live, be able to afford to allow the mother to stay home to raise the child or children without much problem. It was starting to get pushed a little bit 35 years ago. You go back 40, 45 years ago, and it was most certainly that case where there was only one that was working, and it was more than enough to cover all the bills, the mortgage and 2.5 cars and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yep.
All of that was right there. So you're absolutely right. Inflation has kicked our ass in a big way. And I know a lot of people say, well, inflation's not there. There's no inflation. Really? Have you gone to the grocery store lately? Because every time you go to the grocery store, the price of eggs goes up a penny or two. The price of milk goes up a penny or two. It's now, what, $3.50, $3.75 a gallon for milk right now, right?
I don't know. We don't buy
well, how much is it for the half gallon?
Basically $2.50.
Okay, so you can figure about
$1.50. I'm sorry.
Okay, so you can figure about, like I said, about $3.50 for a gallon of milk. Whereas 15 years ago, $1.50 for a gallon of milk. Okay, that's inflation, guys. That's the very definition of inflation. So those that are out there that try to say, well, no, inflation's not there. There's no inflation. Really? So tell me why now it's impossible to have a single person in a household working in a common kind of job and not in any way be able to afford to live. You need 2 people working, and a lot of times working their asses off to get enough of an income to be able to survive. 50 years ago, that didn't happen. 40 years ago, that didn't happen. It started in about 30 years ago in a big way. And if you look back in time in history in the financial aspects of things, you're going to see that that was right where the big inflation issues that we have now really started to kick in. That's where the issue begins. So there's an agenda behind even women having equal rights. And it was not an altruistic reason for it. It was not, oh, we're going to make their lives better. They may be better in ways, but are they overall? I can maybe argue against it, because the whole impact of this has been that all of us have been degraded down. And that's not even looking into the family situation, the psychological aspects of the family situation, and the breakdown of the family. And when I say family, by the way, I don't mean just one man, one woman, and however many children. No, I'm talking just family, okay? Anybody's family. So there's been this big breakdown of the way that everything is organized, to the point now where we're seeing the destruction of society, to the point now where women are subject to the draft. Do we really need women to be subject to the draft? I don't think so. Not me personally. Does that mean that women shouldn't be in the Army or in the Marines or whatever? No.
No, that's a completely
different
thing.
It's a volunteer situation. I don't think anybody should be subject to the draft, because there are many people that are out there that are against any kind of conflict or against any kind of war.
Well, not only that, not everyone has the
temperament?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, to handle something like that.
Absolutely. It breaks people.
And no offense, but us women tend to be a lot more sensitive to this sort of thing. Now, of course, that's not every woman. I'm just saying, just as a general.
There's a leaning towards that, most definitely. Yeah. And that's part of being a woman. Part of being a man is a little bit of a different psychology. I mean, look, the sexes are equal, but there's differences between the equality. Okay, we're equal, but in different ways. There's no denying that. If you deny that, you're denying what it literally means to be a human being. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We are equally different in beautiful ways. Honestly, that's really what it comes down to. Anyways, so yes, the NDAA was passed on Tuesday. And right in the midst of all of this Orlando issue going on. And I do think that it was stuck in there at that time period for a purpose.
Yeah, to distract from this, because this would be a lot bigger if it wasn't for the fact that, we have the whole Orlando thing going on.
Yeah, if they had brought this women susceptible to the draft thing way into the mainstream,
especially too, because I don't think most people even realize that we can still have a draft happen.
Yeah,
I think most people probably think that, oh well, we had it once and it's been done away and we're never having it again. I don't think people realize that we can have it again.
I think most men should be aware of it, because by the time you're 18, you have to register for selective service. That's the draft, guys. That's what the draft is.
Mm-hmm.
You register for selective service. That's the draft. So now women are going to have to sign up for selective service when they turn 18 as well. That's what's coming.
Starting next year, right? It was 2017.
Yeah, for 2017. That's when the fiscal year is for this.
Crystal.
Yeah, Crystal's going to be subjected to that one. So
we got a way to go yet, at least.
Yeah, it's just, I think it's a bad idea. It really is. It's a bad idea.
It would be very interesting to see what happens in that. I hope it never happens, but how they implement it, what's the restrictions,
Yeah.
Because, I mean, considering we can have a baby that immediately kind of puts things in a damper, anyone who's desperate. Because, I mean, it's like my grandpa, you know, he was drafted in the war, and he told me of how all these people did different ways to try to get out of being in the war. Like, once they were already over, you know, many people, they would shoot their big toe to have it so that they can't walk, they can't balance anymore, so therefore they have to be sent home.
Right.
I mean, my own grandfather did something similar. Not shooting his own toe. He broke his arm. He was supposed to stay off of it. He purposefully exercised on it so that it would break again, and they said, okay, well, you must have like a weak bone, you know.
So he got out.
Yeah, so he got out. I mean, and so if we have women go into be drafted, the same thing's going to happen, right? You know.
Well, like you said, many of them probably will just go get pregnant all over and over and over again. So
I mean, can you imagine it? Women going over there, I mean, being drafted alongside men who did want to be drafted to begin with.
Yep.
It's going to cause a lot of issues.
It's not going to be a happy camper situation.
And those women who really don't want to be over there, that will do anything, that's what they're going to do. They're going to turn around and have babies in order to get out of it.
Yep. And then we're going to have a whole new set of problems happen.
Yeah, way more, because then we're going to have so many children, and, you know, it's just going to cause so much havoc.
Yep.
And that's part of what they're planning on, too. You know, there being just a huge influx of children, not enough resources to go around because everyone's either over there or, you know, it's just going to cause mayhem.
It's going to be a big part of it, I think. I think you're on the right track with it. Let's get into Orlando's shooting, though, here real fast before we hit the break. We're kind of starting to run a little low on time here. So is there any other comments that you want to add into that?
No, that's basically it.
You covered it pretty well there, I think.
Well, yeah, I'm a woman. This hits me directly.
Exactly. So,
oh yeah, that's a good question. Are illegal immigrants required to join the selective services?
No, they're not. So the Orlando shooting, this happened on Sunday. You know, we're going to talk again a lot about it tomorrow night on Brothers at Arms, 7:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be right here for you guys to listen to. Make sure you guys tune in because we're going to cover a lot of it, including a lot of the politicking, the pandering that's been going on with it. You know, there's definitely been a plan B in place with this to put hatred onto Trump to get the attention away from Hillary Clinton and her illegalities, her criminalities. That's what they're using part of this for. That's a part of this whole pandering that's going on with it.
With the whole Orlando thing, that's what
with
you're
the
saying?
whole Orlando thing, yeah, because everybody's like, you know, oh, even Obama came out, you know, oh, Trump's to blame for all of this, you know?
If I'm not mistaken, though, Trump did a really great speech.
Yeah, he really did.
It. Yeah,
he really did. So we'll talk about that tomorrow, but as far as what we wanted to talk about tonight, there's a couple of things that we ran across that, we at least are saying, look, this is a questionable situation. Are we calling it a false flag event? You know, I really think at this point we could. I really do.
Yeah.
I think that there's enough that's been coming out already with it to say, you know what, this is not real. They lied over and over and over again about this crap, which they've done before. Over and over. You know, I haven't even looked. Was there even a drill running during that time? I don't know. I haven't even looked. Maybe if somebody out there knows, you guys can let us know. You know, send me an email about it or leave a comment or something. Because invariably it's always there's a drill running, right?
Yeah, there's always a drill.
But okay, so a couple of things that we've run across. Number one, look into I don't have the video here available, but I'll put a link to a video that we ran across where there were recordings that were done showing that the victims of the shooters, I'll get into that in a second, were actually being carried towards the nightclub, not away from the nightclub.
It was from a video posted by CNN.
By CNN, exactly.
CNN. If you happen to find it, people are literally carrying the quote-unquote victims, why is there no ambulance around?
No ambulances.
But they're being carried, and if you look at Street View of the area that it's happening from, they're being taken towards...
They're going to the nightclub.
They're not going away. They're going towards. Because there's like a... Do you remember what that one building was?
Yeah, there was like an insurance company building.
And then a Dunkin' Donuts. And then right after that was Pulse.
Right.
And you can see the logo.
Yeah.
You can see the logo.
You can see the logo of Pulse in the distance, and they're being carried towards that logo.
And even if you don't see the logo and you say, oh, well, we're full of shit or whatnot, look on, just go to Google Maps and put the little guy there, and you can see the street view.
Yep.
That's what it is.
You get the exact same viewpoint that you can get in the video from CNN.
They're going towards the video, towards the nightclub.
Yeah, the nightclub.
Yeah, nightclub. I guess that's yeah. But anyways, they're being taken towards it, not away, towards it. Why are they filming people being taken towards it?
Exactly. So then the next questionable issue is Sadiq Mateen, the father of Omar Mir Sadiq Mateen, who was the shooter accused of all of this, has CIA ties and has ties to Congress. A little questionable there. A little bit of a tweaking there, maybe. Haven't fully looked into that one yet, but even that on the surface you can look at, considering that.
MRI.
Well, I don't know that. What was his name? Holmes from Aurora. His father has ties to the CIA and to the Congress. Look, guys, come on. Look into Ronald Reagan and the assassination attempt on Ronald Reagan. The Bush family was friends with Hinckley's. The brother went out to dinner the day before the assassination attempt with the Bushes. I mean, come on. The connections are there. You're being lied to. So, okay. In the nightclub, at the time of the shooting, multiple witness accounts of multiple shooters, more than one shooter doing the damage.
Yeah, more than one person has mentioned that there was more than one shooter.
Way more than one witness coming out saying there was more than one shooter. Also, one of the eyewitnesses, who was on pretty much every news station, his name is Louise Birnbaum. Is that? No?
Shoot, I forget his name too.
Bourbano. I had to get close to the screen to see the name. Luis Bourbano. Now, Luis Bourbano was, quote unquote, one of the eyewitnesses of this event occurring. Okay. And okay, here's where we're delving into the crazy.
Okay, well, you should say what other eyewitnesses say he did.
Yeah, that's what I was just getting into.
Okay.
So he claimed that he was an eyewitness, that he saw the events going on, blah, blah, blah. And then later in the interviews that were done with him, he admitted, after it was discovered by eyewitnesses coming out and reporting, this guy, Luis Bourbano, was holding the door shut so that people could not get out. He was holding the door shut so that people could not get out. So I actually have his quote here. I'm trying to get to it here real quick.
And if you look for stories about him, you can find an actual news coverage of nothing but him and his account for all this.
Yes.
This is important. We'll get to why it's important in a minute here.
So Fox News' Megyn Kelly actually interviewed this guy, Luis Bourbano, who admitted to blocking the exit. She asked him, you were holding the doors so that the shooter could not get out, but were there any concern that, you might be keeping the people fleeing the shooter from getting out? And he said, yeah, that was on my mind. There was banging, there was pushing on the door. That was on my mind, but at that point in time, I just tried doing what I thought would be best at that moment, because the door opened into an alleyway, which was extremely narrow and would have created a juggernaut. Bourbano also worried that he might be opening the door to the shooter, so he felt by holding it shut, he would prevent the attacker's escape. Was it?
Yeah.
This guy, for the edification of people, this guy is an actor. Literally. He's an actor. I'm not even saying that he's a crisis. He is literally an actor. I'm showing the picture from IMDb of the one of the things that he's appeared in. Luis Bourbano, right there at the top of the cast list. The thing that he appeared in last year, September 24th, 2015.
Which is what the IMDb thing you're showing is of.
Correct. He appeared in a video, a music video, called Spirit of Orlando, Shooting Up. Spirit of Orlando, Shooting Up. This video, trying to show some of the pictures here that I've got. This video is a music video that was put out by the group Spirit of Orlando. The song is called Shooting Up. In the video, you see a woman who is sick of the place that she works at called PharmaCorp Incorporated. PharmaCorp Incorporated.
PharmaCorp.
So this Spirit of Orlando Shooting Up official music video, PharmaCorp Incorporated. This woman is, I don't know, disgruntled against the company that she's working for. And in the process of quitting, she's going around and, in the video, there's not actually any shooting that's going on or killing that's going on, but it's implied that that's what's meant in the symbolism that they're using. Okay. So I'll put a link for this video up for you guys that you can see later on in the show notes for this show. But again, this guy, Luis Bourbano, is one of the people credited as appearing in this video. So,
and he was credited as being
a club patron. Now, I may be delving into the realm of crazy here, guys, but this is a little too freaking coincidental even for me. Okay? This guy who held the door shut so that people could not get out, so they would be killed more.
Now, let me put out too. I forget which news source it is, but there is a news source where they actually show the picture of the Luis guy. You compare it to his profile picture on IMDb. There's no mistake. It's the same guy.
It's not a different guy. It's the same guy.
It's not just a guy has the same name. No, it is the same guy.
Exact same guy. So, this guy, responsible for probably at least a few deaths in this situation. Directly responsible for it by holding that exit door shut and making sure that people got killed. At the very least, he's responsible for people trampling on each other. I guarantee it. So, why is this guy free? Why is this guy not being charged with, at very least, wrongful death? This is a crazy situation, people. You guys need to open your eyes and see what's going on with this. You're being lied to. This guy is literally an actor who was there, who participated in the deaths of these people.
Held the door shut.
Held the door shut. So you tell me. So let me get your thoughts with this, Jolene. And if you guys want to call in with this, please do. 260-494-3937. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about it. Let me hear what you say about this here.
Well, there's not much to say, really. I don't know. It's just really interesting to see how we have an actor. We have a true actor. How easy is it for him to be an actor on a small scale to turn around and be paid, hey, be a crisis actor for this. All you got to do is keep the door shut. And he says he's keeping it shut so that the gunman doesn't escape. I'm sorry, he has a gun.
That was the excuse, yeah.
Yeah, he has a gun. Gun, and you holding the door shut. What's going to win in this situation?
Pretty damn much.
I mean, if it's a glass door, you're dead. If it's a wood door, it can still hit you. If it's a metal door, that'd be the only way.
Yep.
And even then, he's got a gun. You're really going to risk it trying to hold a door shut? I don't know. It's just...
It's insane to me, man. I'm telling you. So let's hit a break here. When we come back, we're going to get into the UFO topic. I want to make sure that we have enough time to cover it. But I'm going to be putting out another couple of videos regarding this situation. So make sure you guys subscribe to my YouTube channel. Again, it's youtube.com/C/Open Eyes Network. Make sure you guys subscribe so you can get the notifications of when I put out a new video. This is a crazy situation. We're being lied to once again. Who's shocked at the lies that are being told with all of this? I'd love to hear your thoughts with it. So, let us know. Anyways, stick around. You guys are listening to Open Eyes. We'll be back in just a few minutes, and we'll get into the government admitting that UFOs actually exist. The rising rate of autism is not just concerning, it's a disaster. No matter what the cause of it is something that everyone should be acutely aware of and actively helping out those in the community that have it. That is why Adventures in Autism was created. Adventures in Autism is a show inspired by our life with our son Seth and the many experiences his autism has brought to our lives. Each episode we bring you the topic of the week, news about autism, and resources to help you and your family or friends out in their own adventures with autism. Tune in Mondays at noon and midnight on lnmradionetwork.com or openeyesnetwork.com and get involved in the community. Let our experiences be an inspiration to you.
Attention L&M Radio Network listeners. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the L&M Radio Network by calling 605-562-4203? No smartphone app or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 605-562-4203 to listen to the L&M Radio Network on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
There are days that the red pill is bitter in my stomach, but I can't get it back out. I think because I have to. I speak because I have no choice. I walk through this dark age we're in with open eyes. Listen to Open Eyes on latenightinthemidlands.com. And together, maybe we won't stumble and fall. The Late Night in the Midlands radio network is deeply devoted to you, the listener. We feel it is necessary to bring you all of the information that you can use in your life. Each and every day you will find something to listen to here. And whether you come away from the shows informed, inspired, or entertained, it is our passion. We don't bow to corporations, and we don't have handlers to tell us what not to talk about. We bring you everything. Late Night in the Midlands, however, is fully listener-supported. We need your help to stay on the air and to make sure that we get the bills paid. We need your help to keep the truth alive. If you feel that you have gotten anything out of Late Night in the Midlands, we would appreciate your support. You can become a subscriber and help us out on a monthly basis, or if you'd like, a one-time donation is fully appreciated as well. Every year, the average household in America spends over $3,000 on entertainment alone. If you could help us with just a tiny fraction of that amount, you would make all of the difference. Go to latenightinthemidlands.com and click on the subscribe button. Thank you, and as always, keep yourself informed.
Boy, we got to watch out for those evil terrorists. Those evil terrorists, they're coming to get us. They're going to be here any minute. They're around every corner. They're around every bush. Watch out, people. You guys are listening to Open Eyes. My name is Ira Robinson. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the show so far. Hopefully you're getting a lot of information out of it. We definitely gave you a lot there in that first hour that you guys needed. Boy. Anyways, so we are back. I am here with Jolene Robinson. Hello, Jolene.
Hello, hello.
We're going to shift topics on you guys big time here and get into the topic of UFOs, unidentified flying objects. Better than unidentified flying unicorns, which may be, pooping out their rainbows all over your head. I had to do that one for my daughter, Crystal. Anyways, so UFOs. Now, this is a pretty big topic. Everybody seems to be fascinated with the topic of UFOs. And, what are they? What exactly are they? Are they man-made, or are they aliens that are visiting us? Are they here to interact with us? What's the deal with UFOs? I've had a couple of UFO encounters over the years. If you don't mind, maybe I'll go ahead and tell them here. Well,
I don't care.
Even if you do
I'm
mind,
I'm the only one that's can say yay and hey.
Even if you do mind, it's my show, and I'm going to tell it anyways. So, one of the encounters that I had. I was driving for a company that basically we picked up railroaders from one location, and we would drop them off in another location, either in a central area where they could go back home, or taking them to their next train that they needed to get on to work on, because they worked like for 24-hour shifts basically. So that was kind of what we did as this company. We took vans and would drive them from these, one location to another, kind of like a taxi service for the railroad companies. It was part of our contract. Pretty cool job. I actually really enjoyed doing it. But there was one night I had gone to pick up a group of guys from one location, and I was taking them pretty much across northern Indiana to get to another. And it was very late at night. It was about 3:00 in the morning when this occurred. We were driving down a kind of a 2-lane highway type of a deal. It was one of the main highways, but it's only 2 lanes that goes through Indiana. It's called Old US 30 for those that might be familiar with it. So as we were driving down the road, there was a section of road that had a pretty deep forested kind of an area with it. And as we approached that area, I looked in the rear view mirror like I do, checking to see if anything's behind us. And I noticed that there was a bright light that was back behind us, and it started coming up closer and closer. Now, I didn't think too much of it at first because I thought maybe it's just, another car, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it seemed to go really, really fast. It was catching up to us very, very quickly.
Zoom.
And we were going pretty fast ourselves. So this guy had to have been hauling, just to be able to catch up to us in the way that he did. But anyways, this light, it came then to the side of the van as if it was, going to be passing us. And as it reached the side of the van and kind of got towards the level of where I could really see it, just by looking over, instead of looking at it in the mirror, this thing was just one big ball of light for all intents and purposes. It was very bright, but it didn't seem to cast any kind of an ambient light. So the road underneath it, the woods behind it and around us and everything were not lit by its light, at least in my memory of things. And all of the people in the van, they saw it too. I mean, this was, not just me that was seeing it, but they saw it too. And we were all kind of like flabbergasted. We couldn't really say anything. And I wasn't even watching the road at this point because I'm just staring at this thing going, what the crap am I seeing here? Well, after what seemed a really long period of time, but I know it had only been like a second or two, really, this thing all of a sudden just shot like major speed whew, straight down the road and then just disappeared. You know, it was like just gone. Well, at that point, I stopped the van and, you know, kind of like more of a kind of a stop, not a, oh, let's come to a gentle stop on the side of the road. It was not that at all. It was definitely a what the crap, hit the brakes kind of a stop. And we're all kind of like freaking out for at least a good 10 minutes afterwards. I just couldn't drive. I was shaking. I was like, what the heck did we just see? You know? So that was my, I would say probably my most dramatic one, just because it was like so many of us were able to sit there and talk about it afterwards. There was one other event that happened to me. Now, I've seen other things over the years that I could probably say, yes, were UFOs, but not as definitive as these two, basically. Okay, so the other one, it happened on the night before my second wedding. So my wedding to my second wife. We lived in a town that was south of where we're at now here in this town. But I had friends that lived up here. In fact, it was Joe that was here. And you know, we kind of did the whole you can't see your wife before the wedding thing, you know. So I went to go stay the night with him before the marriage ceremony the next day. And she stayed at our place, you know, down in this other town. So I was driving on the highway to go home, and as I'm driving down the road, I passed by this this overpass for one of the major highways. Well, near that overpass is a house. It's a pretty large house that sits, you know, offset basically from the roads, but you can see the house from the road. Okay, surrounded by woods, but you can see the house from the road. And as I'm driving, I noticed that there was a bunch of cars that were parked to the side of the road right where this overpass is. And I'm thinking, well, was there an accident or something? You know, so I slow down and I see that there's a bunch of people standing basically on the edge of this overpass looking at something. So I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe there was an accident on that highway underneath, you know, and maybe there's, you know, checking it out. So I stopped to see what was going on. And I look over towards where this house is, and there, floating above it, was what looked like one of the kind of standard circular type of flying saucer type of craft hovering over this person's house. And there was light coming out from below, shining down onto the house. And so I'm, you know, stop and I get out and I look, but I can't really say anything to anybody else. It's like there's not really a voice in my head at all anymore. You know, it's just like silent, just kind of looking at this thing. And so again, what seemed like a really long time, but I know couldn't have been very long. The thing just like the light faded away out from underneath it, and whew, the thing goes shooting straight up into the air and is gone. And we all kind of like stand there for a few seconds, and then we all just kind of wander our way back to our cars and drive away. Nobody really said anything. Nobody did anything. We just all experienced this and then just wandered away, like dumbfounded, basically, you know? So those are two really interesting ones, I think. And I've heard similar ones over the years of like, you know, where people, they'll see these things and they can't really say or do anything. It's like just that it shuts the brain down for a moment or something, you know? So what do you think about those?
Interesting. I've heard them before, so.
Yeah. You've not really had any experiences yourself, though, have you?
Nope, not that I remember. Ooh. Yeah, not that I remember. Not that I recall.
There's been literally millions of different witness reports coming out over the years of these craft, of these things. And a lot of them seem to hold a similar story to them, where the person that's witnessing it or the people that's witnessing it, they can't really say anything or do anything while it's happening. It's almost like there's a signal coming out of them that shuts the brain down a little bit or something. I don't know, maybe suppresses it or something. But there's very old accounts of UFOs too. There's a lot of ones that have come out since Roswell, which is sort of the granddaddy of them all, I think. But there's a lot of very old ones as well. In fact, even going back into the ancient Egyptian days, there was written on a papyrus an account of a set of UFOs, or at least what seemed to be UFOs. I'd like to read that here. It's pretty interesting. So this is from the annals of Thutmose III, who reigned about 1504 to 1450 BC. So, about 2,500 years ago at this point? No, 3,500 years at this point. In the year 22 of the third month of winter, 6th hour of the day, the scribes of the House of Life found it was a a circle of fire that was coming into the sky. It had no head. The breath of its mouth had a foul odor. Its body 1 rod long and 1 rod wide. It had no voice. Their hearts became confused through it. Then they laid themselves on their bellies. They went to the Pharaoh to report it. His Majesty ordered an examination of all which is written in the papyrus rolls of the House of Life. His Majesty was meditating upon what happened. Now, after some days had passed, these things became more numerous in the sky than ever. They shone more in the sky than the brightness of the sun, and extended to the limits of the 4 supports of the heavens. Powerful was the position of the fire circles. The army of the Pharaoh looked on with him in their midst. It was after supper. Thereupon these fire circles ascended higher in the sky towards the south. The Pharaoh caused incense to be brought to make peace on the hearth, and what happened was ordered by the Pharaoh to be written in the annals of the House of Life, so that it be remembered forever. So that was, I think, one of the first written accounts of what could be classed as UFOs. A pretty interesting story.
Yeah, definitely.
It must have been a pretty large contingent of UFOs that were there to have lit up the entire sky day and night,
Yeah. Something was going on. Something, if not UFOs, something.
Yeah, and then, of course, you go even further back into the Sumerian records, and then you get into the Anunnaki stuff and all of that, but we're not really going to get into that here. I did want to bring in some more modern accounts of governmental officials that have talked about UFOs over the years and see what you guys think about these. So, first of all, there was General Nathan Twining, I think is how it's pronounced, who was chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff from 1957 to 1960. As lieutenant general in charge of the Air Force Air Materiel Command at Wright Field, Ohio, he reported in 1957 on his investigation of UFO sightings to date. He said, the phenomenon reported is something real and not visionary or fictitious. There are objects probably approximating the shape of a disc or of such appreciable size as to appear to be as large as a man-made aircraft. There's a possibility that some of the incidents may be caused by natural phenomena such as meteors, but the reporting operating characteristics such as extreme rates of climb, maneuverability, particularly in roll, and action, which must be considered evasive when sighted or contacted by friendly aircraft and radar, lends belief to the possibility that some of the objects are controlled either manually, automatically, or remotely. J. Edgar Hoover, who was, basically the founder of the FBI, he said in response to a government request to study UFOs, he said, and I thought this was really interesting, he said, I would do it, but before agreeing to do it, we must insist upon full access to discs recovered. For instance, in the L.A. case, the Army grabbed it and would not let us have it for cursory examination. Really?
That is pretty interesting.
What L.A. case would that be referring to? There's no records that I'm aware of something happening in L.A. where the Army came in and grabbed some kind of craft that then the FBI was, refused access to.
Mm-hmm.
So, General Walter Bedell Smith, director of the CIA from 1950 to 1953, stated, "The CIA has reviewed the current situation concerning unidentified flying objects, which have created extensive speculation in the press and have been the subject of concern to government organizations. Since 1947, approximately 2,000 official reports of sightings have been received, and of these, 20% at the minimum are as yet unexplained." So at least 20% at that point of sightings were unexplainable to them. Pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right. So, Captain Edward J. Ruppelt, chief of Project Blue Book, from his book, The Report on Unidentified Flying Objects in 1956, he said, Every time I get skeptical, I think of the other reports made by experienced pilots and radar operators, scientists, and other people who know what they're looking at. These reports were thoroughly investigated, and there are still many unknowns. We have no aircraft on this earth that can, at will, so handily outdistance our latest jets. The pilots, radar specialists, generals, industrialists, scientists, and the man on the street, who have told me I wouldn't have believed it either if I hadn't seen it myself, knew what they were talking about. Maybe the Earth is being visited by interplanetary spaceships. So these are officials stating, as government officials, that there are things going on. Now, we know that as time progressed, and the different think tanks came out with their information saying that the people are not ready to hear about UFOs and very much not ready to hear about aliens that are visiting the Earth or interacting with human beings. That became a policy for the governments. And I think that the governments of the Earth, basically, they kind of came to an agreement with this. That the people aren't ready to hear it, that they're not ready for the revelations that these things exist, and that the everyday kind of person is going to freak the hell out, and there's going to be rioting in the streets, there's going to be financial collapse, the world's basically going to come to a crashing halt. That was the fear. That was what was suggested as a possibility by these think tanks, and as a result, we have basically for the past 60 years plus been under a state of non-disclosure regarding anything extraterrestrial in any way. Because people are just too afraid. They're not going to be able to deal with it. It's going to call into question religions, and we can't do that.
And there goes a lot of money.
A lot of money. A whole lot of money. So, what do you think? Do you think that aliens exist?
Aliens, yes. It'd be kind of goofy not to. We really think we're the only around? The only? When there's millions and billions of stars and planets around those and galaxies and so on and so forth, we're the only planet with life? The only? That's a little selfish.
And it's a little extreme, too, isn't it?
It is extreme, yeah.
It's a little extreme.
Just a
to
little.
To have that thought in the head. Well, do you think that they're visiting us, I guess would be the second question with that.
Do what?
Do you think that they're visiting us?
I'm sure they are. Don't you think that if we were advanced enough to go to other planets that aren't aware of us yet, that you'd want to be like, hey, let's go down and see what their life is like, especially if we had technology to be able to blend in?
Camouflage themselves?
Have we not seen Star Trek? Is that not what they do sometimes too? Go down, blend in to the unsuspecting?
Which, funnily enough, Gene Roddenberry made claims that he got his information from elsewhere. I always thought that was pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, have you been visited by aliens?
Are you an alien? As far as I know it, no, but I see hundreds of people every day at work, so
maybe the aliens came along to buy some 2x4s.
You never know. They need a new toilet.
They needed a new toilet. I could see that happening. I think that, I'm with you with the thought of, aliens most definitely exist. We're not alone in this universe in any way. It would be a complete waste of space if we were. I think that life actually is more common than not, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I definitely would say so. I mean, shoot, in our own solar system, there's proof of water on other planets. Life as we know it requires water.
Yeah.
And how well do we know for sure the true atmosphere of all these planets? I mean, we ourselves can't even go as far as Jupiter. How can we say for sure that all the other planets, there's no way.
There's actually a new probe that's visiting Jupiter. It's going to be getting to Jupiter supposedly within the next 2 weeks. So, interesting.
I chose Jupiter.
Yeah, exactly.
Just picking a random planet. But, we ourselves can't go there.
Yeah, as human beings, we can't go there. We can't even get to Mars yet, so...
Trying.
And, we also have to acknowledge that we in the great unwashed masses, we may not even have all the information. They may be telling us disinformation as far as what's really out there. We don't know, we have to definitely acknowledge that. I think that there is a secret space program. I absolutely do. I don't doubt that we went to the moon in any way. I think, though, that while we were doing that, there was also another program running underneath it in the Black Ops kind of department of things that is still running. I think it's still part and parcel of the governmental agencies. I think, to be honest with you, and this is going into complete speculation on my part, but I think that the different governments are working together as far as this space program is concerned, and that they are taking part in it together. I think there's been enough eyewitness accounts of that kind of thing coming out, as well as enough documentation coming out to at least speculate with some authority, if you want to put it that way, that is something that is happening, or at the very least a possibility with it all.
Oh yeah. Most definitely.
So yeah, I definitely.
look at the space station. Just look at the space station alone.
Yeah, the ISS.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The fact that we have everyone up there. It's not just Americans.
It's an international organization.
Exactly. Yeah. That alone should kind of show that we're all working hand in hand.
Yep.
I mean, if we can work hand in hand and have a space station and be okay with everybody up there, then how much farther does it go? Because if repairs are needed and this and that, do you ever hear of them bickering and, that's Russia's job, or, You
don't see them arguing too much up there.
No. Hey, they need a new shipment of food. They need new, this and that.
Yeah.
You don't really hear of anything you just don't hear anything about it.
Yep. Well, one of the other thoughts that goes in my head as far as this whole situation of the witness accounts to these things, many, a vast amount of the witnesses to these things are people like police officers, military officials, judges, prominent people, and people that under any other circumstances you would rely on their information. So, for instance, a police officer could testify in a courtroom evidence of something that you have done, and based upon the fact that they are a credible witness, their evidence is taken into account. Sheriffs, judges, military officials, captains of Air Force, and on and on. captains of industry, these major players in corporate affairs and so on and so forth. These people are under all other circumstances taken at face value, except for this one subject. So if a police officer was to come forward and say, we have proof, we have evidence, I witnessed that you committed a crime, you're sitting in jail. But if that same police officer says, I saw an object up in the sky, I can't describe exactly what it was, but this is what I saw. Suddenly he's a liar, Yeah. And you can't believe his evidence. You can't believe his story. Okay. So why is that the case? Why is that occurring? Do you have any thoughts with that?
Just people just don't want to believe.
Is it really that? I mean, is it part of the psychology with it, maybe?
I would think so. I would think that that's what it is.
That's along my thoughts, too, is that there's, that cognitive dissonance taking place. If you don't want to believe that this kind of thing exists, you'll find any excuse that you can to dismiss somebody that says that it exists. But then again, like I said, you have to take into account the fact that these people could be relied upon for any other thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth is that out of the millions of reports that have come out, if even one of those reports can be traced to an alien presence, then the whole kit and caboodle has to be accepted. So they have to do what they can do to debunk all of them in any way.
There are other countries that admit to them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mexico has even admitted to it.
Mexico, yeah.
There is a lot of activity down in Mexico, and I think one of the main reasons why there's a lot of activity in Mexico is because they are much more of a welcoming type of mentality to it down there. There's been a lot of activity, and strangely enough, there's a lot of activity around volcanoes. I don't know why that would be. Volcanoes or old volcanoes and that kind of thing. I've got kind of some thoughts regarding that, but that's a topic maybe for a different show. But yeah, there's a lot of activity down there in South America, all the way around. Pretty interesting. There was one event, I can't remember exactly when it was. It was about 5 years ago, I believe, 6 years ago, where a group of UFOs was spotted, and pilots were able to follow them for a really long distance. They had them on radar, had them on video the whole way. And it was something like, what was it? Like almost 2 hours worth of flight time that these guys were following these things around. And they were, pretty cool. Very interesting video. Maybe I'll find that and put that into the description as well.
Mm-hmm.
Victor Marchetti, who was a former CIA official, he said, we have indeed been contacted, perhaps even visited by extraterrestrial beings, and the U.S. government, in collusion with the other national powers of the Earth, is determined to keep this information from the general public. The purpose of the international conspiracy is to maintain a workable stability among the nations of the world, and for them in turn to retain institutional control over their respective populations. Thus, for these governments to admit that there are beings from outer space with mentalities and technological capabilities obviously far superior to ours could, once fully perceived by the average person, erode the foundations of the Earth's traditional power structure. Political and legal systems, religions, economic and social institutions could all soon become meaningless in the midst of the public. The national oligarchical establishments, even civilization as we know it, could collapse into anarchy.
Oh, yeah. I could definitely see that.
So, presidents, Harry S. Truman, at the time that he was president, said, I can assure you that flying saucers, given that they exist, are not constructed by any power on Earth. President Gerald Ford said on March 28th, 1966, no doubt you have noted in the recent flurry of newspaper stories about unidentified flying objects. I've taken special interest in these accounts because many of the latest reported sightings have been in my home state of Michigan. Because I think there may be substance to some of these reports, and because I believe the American people are entitled to a more thorough explanation than has been given them by the Air Force to date, I'm proposing that either the Science and Astronautics Committee or the Armed Services Committee of the House schedule hearings on the subject of UFOs and invite testimony from both the executive branch of the government and some of the persons who claim to have seen UFOs, in the firm belief that the American public deserves a better explanation than that's thus far given. So even presidents have come out and said, they believe in these things. Now, Ronald Reagan is one that's often quoted in this whole thing, and I'll go into a little bit of that here for a second. He said when he was discussing things at the I think it was at the United Nations, if I remember right. Yeah, the general address to the United Nations. He said, in our obsession with the antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all of the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bond. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside of this world. Now, to me, that's not his admission that kind of thing is going on. He was just making a comment about the subject and how it would change the mindset of people to suddenly come to an understanding that these things are real. But people kind of grab hold of that one and use that one as a proof point that, he's admitting that they exist. He may have been. I don't discount that possibility entirely, but my own personal thoughts with that quote from him are that he was more just kind of ruminating on the subject as opposed to actually doing it as an admissal. So what do you think about that?
I could see it easily as either or. I don't know which way I feel with that statement or whatnot, but I could easily see it as either or.
Yeah, I mean, I could too. And I know that Reagan, he had understandings of things that are definitely more on the woo-woo side of things. I mean, he's the first president to have an official psychic as a part of the, the staff there at the White House and so on and so forth. So, I mean, it's definitely possible that he had some exposure to this idea of an alien threat. Before we run out of time, I wanted to comment on another official's statements. I don't have the direct quote here, but there was, basically one of the first people in charge of NASA, Werner von Braun. He was kind of considered to be the father of modern rocketry. He came over here to the United States after being removed from Nazi Germany under Operation Paperclip, and then was put in charge of what would then become the NASA. He said that in the process of disclosure, there's going to be basically 4 different things that would be considered threats. So he said the first threat is communism. Communism is the big boogeyman that people are going to focus on to be afraid, and that's going to keep people from asking questions as far as disclosure is concerned. But once people get used to communism, once they have basically gotten to be unafraid of communism because of, them using it as a fear factor, the next thing would be terrorists and terrorism. So we had this exact situation going on where we had, this fear of communism. And once the threat of communism basically faded away for the most part, what do we have now?
Terrorism.
We have terrorists everywhere.
Terrorism.
The evil terrorists. I just love that from George Bush, the evil terrorists. It's like, really, really, George? Okay, come on. Anyways, so he said there'd be terrorists there.
I was saying, milk it, dude.
Milk it, dude, exactly. So he said there'd be terrorists, as the next fear factor. After people become unafraid of the terrorism threat, then they would start talking about the threat from outer space in the form of asteroids and meteors coming into Earth, and we need to protect ourselves from all of that. And then once we're kind of getting there. Yeah, that's kind of starting already. And once they've gotten used to that type of threat and money has been spent and all the distractions can be milked for that type of thing, then they're going to talk about an alien threat to the world. That aliens are coming here, they're going to, destroy us, take over the earth, blah, blah, blah. That would be the next big threat factor. And I can kind of see that they're working that already a little bit too, in the form of the different movies that we have coming out. It seems like damn near every movie that comes out regarding anything regarding aliens is all about the threat of aliens. They're here to destroy us. They're here to kill us all, take over the world. It kind of puts that little psychological cue in there that if something did get disclosed alien wise, people are going to have this knee-jerk reaction of fear, fear, fear.
Mm-hmm.
So then basically once that all has come to a head, then at that point we'll probably have a real disclosure occur of true aliens, and the truth behind them all. So I think it's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting that what he said years ago actually is starting to, come to fulfillment.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if he had information regarding, official policies that were in action, or if he had just a really lucky guess. I'm kind of leaning more towards he had actual information, but that's just me.
Yeah.
So what do you think about all of this? We've got about a minute or so that's left here for you, Jolene, and I'd like to get your final comments regarding this whole stuff. Whatever. It doesn't even have to be about the alien subject, whatever you have on your mind tonight.
Well, another set of people that, unless I've spaced out that you haven't mentioned, is astronauts.
Yes, I didn't mention any of those, but there are many of the astronauts who have come out and said there were ones there. There were beings that were there.
Mm-hmm.
There were ships there. They were following us. They were a part of everything that we did. So, yes,
I know,
absolutely.
I know both Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, right?
Yeah.
And both of them.
And
I know there's
Edgar
others,
Mitchell,
but I wouldn't.
Edgar Mitchell, yep. All of them, they've all alluded to that there was definitely something else that was there with them as they went through their process of going up.
And they were in space, and no one's believing them.
Yep. Pretty interesting, I think. So, great final thought there, Jolene. I like that. Thank you for reminding me about it and for us to put that out there. So, I had that down, but I just didn't get to it in the notes. Didn't get to it in the notes. So, guys, I want to thank you guys for coming and listening tonight. This has been a really good show, I think, and hopefully you guys got a lot of information out of it. I know I really enjoyed being here, and I think Jolene did too.
Yes.
If you guys want to go to the archive of this show, it's going to be at openeyesnetwork.com/OE210. Trying to put up the little YouTube thing there for us, but I'm failing. If you guys want to send us an email, you can send it to feedback@openeyesnetwork.com. If you guys want to join us on our social media, you can do so at, Facebook.com, Twitter.com, Google+. We're Open Eyes Network on all of those platforms, and you guys can, comment to us. Give us show ideas. If you want to hear us talking about a certain topic or another, let us know. We'll be happy to cover whatever comes along, If you guys have information that you'd like to give us regarding things that we talk about on our shows, please, again, get into contact with us on social media or send me an email. It's feedback@openeyesnetwork.com. Whatever comes along, we'll take. If you guys want to make sure to subscribe to YouTube, you guys will get notifications when we publish videos. We do that every day. It's youtube.com/C/Open Eyes Network. And if you guys want to join us on tomorrow, again, we will be at Brothers in Arms, and we will be airing at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be back on Friday. I think we're going to talk about the paranormal on Friday. Should be a pretty interesting show, too. That's going to start at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, until next time, keep safe out there and have fun. And thank you so much, as always, for listening.